weirdo. I don't give no what you got in your head, that neural link. You'll never outthink me. Ever.
Started like a slow burn, then erupted like a forest fire in the darkest hours of night. Jaguar Wright, the former neo-soul powerhouse turned fearless whistleblower, has dropped a match straight into the heart of the music industry's most unshakable dynasty: Jay-Z, Beyonce, Diddy. Names that once glittered like royalty now drip with the stench of fear, power, and something far darker. Wright isn't just throwing shade, she's blowing open vaults. And what she's saying isn't just explosive, it's downright terrifying.
And I'm not saying allegedly.
Oh.
I'm saying, Sean Carter, you're a piece of shit. Taking Pimp C wasn't bad enough. You just want to go down there and you want to just remove all of the balls from every real gangster in Houston.
We're not talking petty rivalries or behind-the-scenes drama. Wright is alleging these icons are orchestrating something massive, criminal, coordinated, cruel, a well-oiled, decades-old machine that feeds off silence, rewards loyalty, and disposes of those who get in the way. She says they're not just complicit, they're the architects, the enforcers, the shadowy trio pulling strings behind stage lights and charity galas. And now, she claims, they've noticed her talking. The stakes? Her life. That's what Jaguar Wright herself has said. She's not hinting, she's not being coy. She says it flat out. She fears she won't survive long enough to release what she knows. And what she claims to hold, evidence, tapes, testimonies, could be the equivalent of a nuke detonating at the center of the music world. Wright speaks of unnamed insiders too frightened to step forward. She paints herself as the last woman standing, the one person willing to risk everything to expose what's really going on behind the velvet curtain. This isn't just an expose, it's a war. And the battlefield, our culture, our icons, our trust.
Is he this gangster that behind the scenes is that him? Or is that
Shout out to Wendy Williams.
At the eye of this growing hurricane sits one chilling rumor, the so-called silent witness tapes. According to Wright, these recordings, allegedly hidden away in multiple secure locations, capture private conversations between Jay-Z, Beyonce, and Diddy. Not rehearsals or business meetings, we're talking hush-hush strategy sessions, supposedly plotting cover-ups, silencing threats, and sweeping deeply illegal behavior under the rug. If these tapes exist, they could obliterate careers, bulldoze billion-dollar empires, and trigger criminal investigations that make R. Kelly's downfall look like a speeding ticket. She says these tapes are too dangerous to release all at once, and that multiple parties have copies, like some paranoid Cold War spy film. She's dropped hints that there are backups stashed overseas, and that if something were to happen to her, there's a protocol for their release. What's on them? Wright won't give details yet, but she warns it involves multiple felonies, underage victims, and names you'd never guess were involved. According to her, one tape features a discussion between the trio on how to handle a situation before it gets out of hand. Another, a conversation where Diddy allegedly describes how they made sure a problem went away. Wright won't say more. Because in her words, I'm not ready to face the end just yet.
So that's just competitive energy.
Competitiveness. All right, so you and Diddy, you and Puff cool?
No, I don't really rock with him.
Okay,
like that.
damn, all right. I didn't know what that meant.
Okay.
All right, okay.
The tension has become a character of its own. You can feel it pulsing through every public appearance, every social media post, every red carpet step Beyonce takes without saying a word. Meanwhile, Jay-Z, usually the master of the calculated response, has remained oddly silent. Diddy, of course, is buried under a legal avalanche that's already painting a grim portrait. But now, the real question. Are all these dominoes connected? Because Wright isn't whispering anymore. She's pointing fingers. Loudly. She claims she personally knows 3 alleged victims who were manipulated, silenced, or worse by this trio's inner circle. She calls Jay-Z and Beyonce a nasty little couple, claiming their public perfection hides private monstrosity. In her recent interview, she didn't flinch when she compared them directly to Diddy, saying they operate the same way, just with better branding and scarier friends. Wright insists these aren't just isolated incidents. She says this is a pattern, a ritual, the same story over and over, just with different faces.
A lot of potential. Jay was more quiet. But I mean, I learned that Jay was being quiet because he was taking notes. He was taking notes, observing everything, taking it all in. Because, sometimes you're around and you're watching to see things to do. But some people are around.
And then there's the backstory that makes all of this hit harder. Jay-Z's rise from the projects to Forbes list royalty is well documented. What gets glossed over is that as a teenager, he was a full-on street dealer in the crack era, and by his own admission, knew how to move weight, budget, and exit before the walls closed in. Well, now the walls might be closing in for real. Not from cops, but from someone who used to be in the room. But Wright didn't stop there. No, she pushed the needle further into territory so charged it's practically radioactive. She raised Aaliyah's name. And that's where this goes from chilling to bone cold. According to Wright, there's more to that 2001 plane crash than anyone ever dared to explore. Not mechanical failure, not poor planning. She hints that Aaliyah was becoming a problem. One who saw too much, knew too much, and wasn't willing to play by the rules anymore. Wright says whispers have long suggested that Aaliyah had confided in friends about pressures and threats from a powerful trio. The exact same trio she's calling out now.
The rising star in the world of music and film. Reaction today after Aaliyah and 8 others were when their plane went down.
What if that wasn't a coincidence? What if the whispers are right? According to multiple resurfaced claims and online rabbit holes, Aaliyah had reportedly started to distance herself from key players before her final trip. There were last-minute changes to her flight, conflicts about the pilot, disputes about the cargo weight. But could there have also been warnings? Some now believe she told someone she felt like she was being watched and that she didn't trust the people running things anymore. Whether that's true is still debated, but the fact that Jaguar Wright is resurrecting those stories and tying them to the exact same names now under fire is enough to make the hair on anyone's neck stand up. TikTok's taken the bait and run wild. The 25th conspiracy linking Aaliyah, Left Eye, and Michael Jackson, all passing on the 25th day of different months, has become digital wildfire, and whose names keep floating up in these theories? Sean Carter.
Beyonce knows.
Sean Combs. According to the speculation, J. Cole's track, She Knows, may have been a breadcrumb trail all along, with listeners now dissecting the title as a coded jab. She Knows, as in Sean and Knowles. A stretch? Maybe, but with Beyonce's name conveniently appearing in so many teary celebrity award speeches, and Jay-Z's quiet proximity to some of Diddy's most controversial moments, people are finally asking questions.
And then they brought Rich Harrison in, and you know, kind of think it's crazy right now. She liked posing with him in pictures for Page 6. Aaliyah didn't.
And then there's the silence. The queen of precision, the empress of image control, has said nothing. Not a word about Wright, not a tweet, not a PR pushback, not a press release. Jay-Z? Still posing with Diddy in throwback photos while refusing to explain why. 50 Cent, of all people, is one of the few not afraid to crack the shell. Friends to the end, Jay, are you still there? He wrote in a post that mocked their connection and even referenced alleged violence against other artists. That post went viral. Not because people were shocked, but because they weren't. What Wright is saying now isn't easily dismissed. Not in this climate. Not when Diddy's trial is peeling back decades of horror and we're seeing in real time just how deep the rot goes. The court transcripts read like a thriller. Days-long parties, intimidation, blackmail tapes. And if even half of what Cassie has testified is true, then the industry isn't just complicit, it's coordinated, engineered, and it runs on fear. Jaguar Wright is now betting that her voice, and maybe those mysterious tapes, can break that system. But the clock is ticking, and if her claims are real, then everyone at the top knows exactly how much they have to lose. But Jaguar Wright isn't the only one linking these names to dark deeds. What if some of the industry's biggest tragedies, even the demises of beloved stars, weren't accidents at all?
Did you ever spend time with the guy? Did you ever meet Diddy?
I've met him before, yeah.
How was he?
Very nice guy, very smart, super business. You know, I mean, he's very successful.
This isn't just about fame anymore. Not about platinum plaques or sold-out arenas. What Jaguar Wright is describing now is something far more chilling. A power structure built to be untouchable. According to her and a growing number of insiders, what we're looking at is not a music label, not a management firm, but a protection racket draped in couture. A network so vast, so well-connected, that even when allegations surface, when victims scream, lawsuits are filed, or headlines explode, nothing sticks. And the question we should all be asking is why? The theory is simple, if terrifying. Jay-Z, Beyonce, and Diddy don't just sit at the top of the entertainment world. They're allegedly shielded by layers of influence, a system that extends far beyond backstage dressing rooms. Think media outlets suddenly going quiet. Think journalists who lose interest mid-investigation. Think payouts that vanish under NDAs so ironclad, not even subpoenas can pry them open. More than one tabloid editor has whispered about being warned off certain stories, told to drop it or else. We've seen articles disappear, segments pulled, victims silenced.
About look at Diddy, for instance. Let's take a look at him. Let's take a look at, he has videos He has videos of the parties. Now, what I've heard, which I don't know how much of it is in mainstream media, I don't really follow the story that much, but what I've heard from friends that are attorneys, friends of mine that have represented me before, agents and so on, is there's a bidding war going on.
And then there's law enforcement. Wright has insinuated that certain cases, ones with very real names and very real trauma, were mysteriously shut down, evidence sealed without explanation. It raises a brutal question. Who's really calling the shots? Are there investigators who've been bought? Are there officials who've looked the other way? The rumors aren't subtle. Some say payouts reached 6 figures. Others suggest a more disturbing form of leverage, access to compromising material that ensures silence. Either way, the result is the same. Allegations vanish before they ever hit a courtroom. We've seen echoes of this in the Diddy saga. One lawsuit dropped, only for another to emerge. Accusers flip-flopping, statements edited, and suddenly everyone's playing legal hot potato. Even Jay-Z, in a separate case, was accused of being named as a co-defendant, only for the suit to dissolve after a key witness said her lawyer pushed her into it. The reality? That same woman then swore in court that she feared retaliation. Coincidence? Or just one more thread in a bigger, more sinister fabric?
Now you notice to be hands-off with somebody. A number of producers coming to make the approach, and you threaten to punch them in the mouth, or threaten to knock their head off for talking to you like, or looking at you like you're a woman. You know, when you approach a real man about his masculinity, you're gonna get a real reaction back. It's a difference when a guy walks in a room and when a man walks into a room. And a man don't take the same things that a guy will accept.
But if this network is real, then what happens to the people who don't fall in line? According to Wright, the industry has a long memory and a short fuse. Whispers abound of artists who were promised the world, then vanished when they asked the wrong questions. Backup singers, managers, stylists, not famous enough to make a splash, but close enough to know things. Some suddenly found themselves blacklisted, tours canceled, projects shelved without notice. One former assistant reportedly said she was offered a generous exit package to disappear, and when she didn't accept, her name became poison on the hiring circuit. There's even a chilling story from a former choreographer who worked closely with Beyoncé in the early 2000s. She claimed her career flatlined overnight after she objected to how a young performer was being treated behind the scenes. No explanation, just calls that stopped coming, bookings dried up. Years later, she still won't say the full story publicly, only that I saw something I shouldn't have and I said something I wasn't supposed to. Whether it's paranoia or truth, she's not alone. Over the past year, several anonymous Reddit posts and blind item leaks have hinted at a blacklist that runs like a secret dossier through the industry.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying.
Fear isn't just a byproduct of the alleged machine Jaguar Wright is fighting. It's the fuel that keeps it running. According to multiple behind-the-scenes sources and whispered testimonies, this network doesn't need to publicly destroy someone to control them. All it takes is the idea that they could. Wright herself has hinted at veiled warnings, reminders of what's happened to others who didn't play the game, names that come up quietly, always followed by silence. The point isn't just to threaten, it's to leave people imagining the worst. What happens if I talk? What happens to my family? The psychological toll of that is staggering. Some have described tactics that feel more like psychological warfare than industry politics. A former intern speaking anonymously to an independent journalist last year claims she received middle-of-the-night calls with no voice on the other end, just breathing. Another up-and-coming songwriter reportedly found his car's tires slashed the day after refusing to sign an Indeed connected to a party involving high-level execs. None of this is provable in court, but that's the point. These are acts designed to leave no fingerprints, to grind people down with uncertainty and paranoia until they censor themselves.
He loved me while he loved me. And only I can, just like Diddy. The same thing with Diddy.
What's most disturbing is how normalized this fear has become in certain circles. Some insiders describe a kind of quiet understanding, a code of survival where you learn what not to say, which names not to mention, which questions are best left unasked. One A&R rep years removed from the business described it as an unspoken agreement to never wake the sleeping giant. For every artist who steps into the spotlight, there are dozens behind the scenes who've learned to keep their heads down, convinced that any misstep could lead to ruin. Or worse. This type of psychological manipulation doesn't just silence people, it erodes them. It makes them question their own memories, their judgment, their safety. Wright has suggested that part of what makes this network so effective is its ability to isolate those who speak out. Suddenly, former friends stop replying, collaborators cancel without explanation, industry allies offer polite support in private but won't risk going public. The target begins to feel crazy, alone, paranoid, and that's when the silence begins to feel like a form of survival. By the time someone decides to go public, they're already psychologically drained, often broken.
In charge. And a lot of people saying it's square peg, round hole, that we know that there are multiple jurors on both sides. It's not just one holdout, that on racketeering, they are stuck. But they have reached a decision on trafficking as it results with.
And yet, that's what makes Jaguar Wright's crusade even more staggering. She's not just going up against money or power, she's pushing back against a culture built to crush dissent before it forms. She's chosen to speak in a space where so many have been taught to whisper or not speak at all. And whether her warnings fall on deaf ears or open the floodgates, the psychological grip she's trying to break is as real as any lawsuit or media blackout. The cost isn't just professional, it's emotional, spiritual, personal. And that's the kind of warfare most people never see coming. And we need to talk about how many of these disappearances follow a pattern. Promising newcomers with big buzz, rising stars with one viral hit, then nothing, no tour, no press, no follow-up album. Artists who seemed poised for the top suddenly posting cryptic farewells on social media or falling into legal trouble, mental health spirals, or total obscurity. Not all of them named names, but some, they did. And soon after, they were gone. We've heard the phrase industry sacrifice tossed around before, often as conspiracy clickbait. But when the same trio's names keep appearing in story after story, the coincidences start to feel mathematical. How many careers were destroyed? How many lives wrecked in the name of preserving an empire?
I'm sorry, I'm just really, I'm in this moment right now. This is crazy. Sorry. People don't really know how much what it does to you when something that you love is taken from you and thrown away like it don't even matter, and then they move on with their lives and you're stuck. You're stuck during those years. You're still stuck 21 years later.
And through it all, Jaguar Wright is still standing, still talking, still posting videos that feel like pleas and warnings wrapped into one. They know where I live, she said. I don't go anywhere alone anymore. She's hinted that she's been followed, that her phones are tapped. And in a live stream last month, she looked straight into the camera and said, if something happens to me, check the files. They're real and they know it. She's made it clear that she believes the retaliation has already begun, from attempts to discredit her reputation, to strange visits at her home, to former collaborators distancing themselves with suspicious timing. It's like watching a suspense movie in real time, except this isn't fiction. If Wright's claims are even half true, she's up against a machine that doesn't lose, one that has weathered scandals, indictments, and lawsuits, and still dominates the charts, the awards, the headlines. She's risking everything to expose it. But does she even stand a chance?
Well, the things that I experienced with him were monster-like. That stuff almost destroyed my life.
And if she's silenced, will we ever know the truth about the disappearances, the cover-ups, and the power plays that have kept this empire intact for over 2 decades? Could the most beloved names in music be hiding behind a carefully constructed fortress of fear and manipulation? That's the question we leave with you. How deep do you think this goes? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We're watching. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and remember, in the world of fame, nothing is ever as perfect as it seems.